Greetings and welcome to the Beers and Bodyslams podcast. Sitting across from me, the man that just signed a contract to fight Irish in a snack pack on a pole match,
Hey.
Mr. Fluffy.
I resemble that remark.
You resent?
Resemble.
No, you resemble.
Resemble that remark. And sitting across from me, he's the man who's going to wrestle Bill Cosby on a pudding and Ritalin match. Good old JB.
Oh my goodness.
You want to get me? I'm going to get you back.
Sorry, Irish.
Come here and show my pudding pop.
I had to do it.
All right.
As you can hear, Irish is not with us this week. He is out being a man amongst the people. He'll be back next week as we do a recap shows. We got a good topic show for you guys this week. We are going to talk about WrestleMania matches that never happened.
But should have.
That should have. We're going to cross, back through the Attitude Era up until, recent history.
Yep.
And just kind of talk about a few matches that we thought should have happened. Probably go on a tangent and go off topic a little bit, but, that's
Shocker.
what we do. We got a lot to talk about and so much more when we come right
back.
Awesome! This is the Beers and Bodyslams podcast. I'm afraid I've got some bad news. With your host, Mr. Fluffy.
Hello, ladies.
Good old JB.
Booty-O's!
They make sure you ain't booty. And the Irish O'Leary.
There's only one word to describe you, and I'm gonna spell it out for you. A-A-W-S-T!
This is the only podcast bringing you craft beer and pro wrestling that really matters.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, E-Generation X proudly brings to you its WWF Tag Team Champion of the World, the Road Dogg Jesse James, the Badass Billy Gunn, the new.
And that's the bottom line, the Stone Cold said so.
All right, Fluffy, what are we drinking tonight?
All right. So from our friends, a beer service we both have joined, me and good old JB, called Tavour.
The greatness.
We have from the brewery, The Lost Abbey out of California, we have Serpent's Stout. It is an Imperial.
Yeah.
It is 11%.
Oh, yeah.
It is all booze and coffee. It is strong. It doesn't pretend to be anything what it isn't.
Nope.
It's not going, I'm coconut, I'm chocolate, I'm cherry. It just goes, I'm full of alcohol, I'm thick like motor oil. You're going to feel me after 3 minutes.
I don't get a lot of coffee.
I only say coffee because all stouts to me have that burnt
There is
flavor to them.
an aftertaste of.
Yeah, that's what it's not really coffee flavor.
No.
But a lot of stouts have that
there's
to me.
a lot of roasted notes.
But it's good. It's smooth. It's 11%. It's heavy. Oh, it's heavy.
Yeah.
You can't. You don't eat with this.
This is a one and done.
Yeah. This is not the kind of beer that said, "Hey, you want to come over and have a." It's we live in Florida. This is not the beer you crack when it's 95 degrees outside to sit outside and go, "Hey, I'm going to go out in my back patch and drink a beer." No, because you will be puking in the bushes.
Yeah, this is a cold weather.
Oh, air conditioning day.
Yeah, this is a.
It is. I love these kind of beers.
Strong.
I love these kind of beers, though. I love just that smack you in the face.
Yeah.
And again, it's a good beer because it's not pretending to be anything. It says we're on the.
It delivers.
Yeah, Serpent Stout, Imperial Stout. There's no other description. It's not trying to play anything. It just goes, I am. It also came with a cork. And I love especially high-end beers, Imperials that come with a cork.
Seals in that flavor.
Seals in that flavor. It also makes it fun to open.
Yeah.
And when you pop
you
it.
feel like it's a special occasion.
Yeah. So thank you so much from The Lost Abbey. So, yeah, we're going to talk about WrestleMania matches that should have happened but didn't. This is not fantasy.
No.
These are matches that were either scheduled and didn't happen for various reasons. And we're not going to get into that stuff. We're going to talk about what we would like to have seen from these matches and why it hurts it never happened.
Yep.
Or guys that were in the company at the same time that just never seemed to come. And some of these people may have wrestled elsewhere at other pay-per-views. But we're certainly talking about WrestleMania, which is still the grandest stage. And there's guys that have wrestled outside of it. They even said, I wish this match was at WrestleMania.
Yeah,
and this is that list of guys.
Yes, sir. What we got first?
All right, we're going to start off with what would have been one of the gimmick matches of a WrestleMania, but would have been the brutal gimmick match. Terry Funk versus Mick Foley.
Can you imagine that?
Oh, my God.
In the Attitude Era at a WrestleMania. You let them start the show.
Oh, yeah.
And they send everybody into a frenzy.
Oh, yeah. They have to change. That's the kind of match where it happens, and then immediately afterwards, you have a long tape segment because you're replacing the mat.
Yes.
The ring apron.
Cleaning up thumbtacks, barbed wire.
Probably half the turnbuckles. Like, you're just replacing half of the ring at that point.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Hello.
She's talking back.
The Serpent's showing up. Hello.
That would have been one of the most brutal matches, probably even more so than a Hell in a Cell.
Yeah.
They would have allowed them back in the day, and we're not talking modern day, but we're talking when they're in their era. They would have allowed them to. Obviously, they could.
When
bleed.
he was Chainsaw Charlie,
they could bleed back then.
Yeah.
There was a lot more leeway that they can do stuff. That would have been brutal.
Oh, they would have destroyed each other.
They wouldn't have been on TV for like a month after that match.
No. And the match, and it would have been, the kind of match where we would have watched it now and been like, why'd they let this happen?
Oh, yeah.
Sort of like when we look at the Shane Kurt Angle match, when we watch him go through the King of the Ring, when he keeps throwing into the glass. Now you watched it and you're going, why did no one stop this? Like, why did no one at some point to the referee's ear go, all right, we're done? That would have been this match. This would have been the match we've been talking about 10 years later, 20 years later, going, who thought this was a good idea?
And it was like, I always harken back to that Rock and Mankind Survivor Series match where he just took the chair shot after chair shot after chair shot.
Yeah.
Like it would have been one of those type of matches.
Oh, yeah. But they would have hit each other with street signs. And carts,
everything.
And kendo sticks.
Everything.
And pieces of things would have been everywhere.
Those kendo sticks, those are like the worst.
Yeah.
Oh, I was like, when I first saw them, I didn't even know what they were when I first saw them. I was like, how does that little piece of bamboo hurt so bad? But then, like, when they would hit somebody
on the Welch show,
oh my God, I was like, oh my God,
it spreads. You know what it is? If you watch it when it hits somebody, it spreads, and that's what makes it deadly. Yeah. Not deadly, but painful. Is it's not like hitting somebody with a stick where it's all in one spot.
Or it may splinter.
It spreads itself out, and it gets so wide, and it's all little. And what people don't realize is there's little beads on those of either just like pearl.
They're
or
like
something.
ridged.
Yeah, or some I've seen them with ridge. Oh, they hurt, but. God, that would have mean. All right. Another one that would have been, I want to say changing of the guard, but definitely a changing of eras. Would have been Shawn Michaels versus Randy Savage in '92.
That could have been a passing of the torch moment.
Yeah, it would have been. Because there was a feud for a little while when Savage was a commentator before he went to WCW, where him and Shawn were kind of jawing at each other, and that's where this match kind of started to grow.
Yeah,
and WWE thought Savage was done, and even though his WCW stuff wasn't great, he had some good matches. He still had life in him.
Yeah,
and if you think
he
about
was motivated,
but if you think about it, '92, he would have been motivated to prove that he can still do it, and Shawn was just motivated to prove that he's becoming the man. So you really would have had that. And Shawn and Randy really have a lot of the same styles.
Yeah, they really. He's compared to him.
Yeah,
in some aspects, not a lot, but like a lot of his style.
Savage was bigger and more force.
Yeah, but he has high flyer in him too.
Yeah.
Though.
Oh yeah.
He
agree.
He had a mixture of both, but the ego and arrogance factor is what I draw the similarities between.
Would you say it was cream of the crop?
Oh yeah. The greatest promo of all time,
again,
ladies and gentlemen.
We've said it like 40,000 times. If you've never seen Cream of the Crop by Randy Savage,
the GOAT promos.
Go to YouTube and type in Cream of the Crop and watch the man pull out creamers. But to think about that match in 1992, Shawn was just coming out of the Pretty Boy,
Rocker.
Well, no, actually, that was past the Rockers, but that was when he was transitioning
From Sherry?
Out of Sherry and really becoming his own, and really developing what he became, where he took that Pretty Boy aspect and cranked it up to like 15, but with an edge, and that's what made him great.
Yeah,
and Savage in there, and they would have just brutalized it. It would have been a great match.
It would have been.
I definitely, my envision would be Shawn would have won, but for some reason, I envision Randy going to do his elbow, him jumping off, then Shawn suddenly jumping up like a jackrabbit and super kicking him as he could. Like,
Could you imagine?
Like, that's how I envision is Randy at the top doing the finger thing, and as he leaves, Shawn just jumps up and just super kicks his head off and pins him 1, 2, 3. Which would have been
if you could have pulled that move off.
Shawn could have.
I mean, just for him to get up while he's in the air, that was like really quick.
Yeah,
he'd have to do that really fast.
Oh yeah,
if they could have pulled that off, that would have been a.
But that would have been
that would have been a greatest WrestleMania moment in history.
Oh, it would have been a highlight. Like that would have been a highlight we'd be watching.
No, that would have been the highlight.
Yeah,
if he would have been able to pull that off.
But you can envision it in your head though.
Oh yeah,
of him just jumping up and just super kicking his head off.
Just like I said, the rage that Macho could have went to, and then the cocky, arrogant upstart Shawn Michaels, Pretty Boy.
Oh yeah, and they totally could have played up.
They would have tore the house down,
and they totally could have played up the idea of Savage saying, "You think you're you? I was you 20 years ago.
Yeah,
I'm still the man." And it could have been that passing of the torch.
It would have been,
not that Shawn needed any help whatsoever with that,
but even when we knew he had star potential, we didn't know what we had.
No,
you know what I mean? That I don't even think there really was a quote unquote passing of the torch moment for him. His moment was when he beat Bret to win the title.
Yeah, that
was his moment, but Bret was still in his prime.
Yeah,
he wasn't really passing the torch per se. So like Shawn Michaels, we didn't know, he didn't have that signature moment, in my opinion, where, okay, he's anointed, the next man. He just, he won the title in an epic match, but there was never that, I beat Macho to take over as the number one guy, or I beat Hogan, or you know what I mean? Like, there was never that signature moment in his career, but from the time that barbershop episode happened, when he ruined Marty Jannetty for life, that's when I began to see something. But I never even dreamed he would turn into what he became.
Well, there was always the stories backstage that they thought Marty was the one that was a star, and that whole barbershop angle was
built to make Marty look better.
Yeah, it was built to get Marty over
as a face,
in an attempt to say, okay, what Shawn got. They didn't know what they had, and again, not that they didn't know what they had. Shawn ran with it.
He wasn't the one they were backing at the time.
Yeah.
But he grew into that.
He grew into it. That's a match that just, would
have been awesome.
Another match that would have been fun that would have happened, should have happened in 2000. It should have happened in 2001, 2002, 2005. When you can just run the list is Sting versus The Undertaker.
Yeah, they really.
And, the build up for that match itself would have been, when Sting came into WWE, I didn't want to wrestle Triple H. All we wanted was The Undertaker.
Why they didn't do it, I don't know.
No one knows. That's what no one knows.
Sting didn't have the following because it was too late.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like WCW wasn't even around.
But imagine if it happened in 2000.
He had in
2001
in their peaks. Yeah.
Imagine if 2000 been too close because it was right after. But imagine in 2001 if they had convinced Sting to sign a contract, and because that's when Taker was at his strength.
Oh yeah.
And all you envision is, again, I'll play the fantasy role. So Taker's in the ring, giving his I rule. This is mine. Yeah. And the lights go out, and all we see is a single spotlight, and it's Sting up in the rafters, standing there. And just that moment would have sent. I'm getting chills now just thinking about
seriously.
That. And the Taker looks up, but then you play it off. But then you have Taker like raise his hands and almost do a lightning strike, like Like you build
They
up.
could have really.
You
done
build
something
up the
with that.
mythology of this. It's not a man versus man. It really becomes
Supernatural.
a supernatural, demigod versus demigod.
Yep.
These all I envision is moments where Sting's in the ring and lightning bolts come out, or Undertaker's in the ring and a crow flies by, and you just build this thing and build this thing.
Have.
And it would have been the entrance. Do you imagine the entrance
For both of them.
for both of them?
It would have been 15 minutes of just intro.
Oh my God.
For both of them.
And if you did it in 2000, 2001, when they both could have gone full strength, balls to the wall,
Yeah.
they would have killed each other.
It would. I wonder why it never happened.
Well, I know. Well, part of it. Well, most.
I wonder if they even made an offer to Sting back in the day.
They did.
They did.
Well, this is okay. Him and a couple other people like him, Goldberg, Nash, Hall. They all had multi-years left on their agreements when WCW went out.
Yeah.
But their agreement. This is where it gets weird.
They got this. Well, I know that for just off the top, they either could take the buyout.
Well, no, it wasn't even that. It wasn't. They could have taken the buyout.
And then they would have renegotiated with WWE.
But it wasn't even renegotiated. This is where WCW. This is where Time Warner made their mistake.
Yeah,
and this
guaranteed contracts. Yeah.
wasn't even that. Sting's contract, and I'll use him specifically, was not with WCW. His contract was with Time Warner.
Turner.
Yeah, if it was with Time Warner Turner.
Yeah.
If his contract was just with WCW, when Vince bought it, they would have picked up all those contracts and renegotiate.
Right. Yeah.
Him, Nash, Hogan, all those people, their contract, because supposedly the idea was that they didn't want to have the contract in WCW because they didn't want to burden the company with those amounts.
They didn't want a lot of them.
So they were actually signed to Turner. So when they sold WCW, they were still stuck with these contracts.
Buff Bagwell.
But the thing is and I'm saying, if you're Sting and Hogan, all these people, and you're being told, okay, we can give you a buyout for a third of your contract,
Yeah.
or you can sit at home for the next 2 years and get your full contract. And most of these guys are retired and just ready to take a break. If I told you tomorrow, I'm going to give you 2 years of making multi-million dollars and you have to do nothing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, seriously.
You're gonna, or I can give you $1 million now and you can wrestle tomorrow.
Yeah.
Most of these guys are going to go,
Exactly.
I'll go sit home for a while.
Yeah.
And that was the problem.
That's unfortunate.
But then when he came into the company, it should have happened. And
at that point, he was a shell of himself.
well, so was Taker.
And that's what I'm saying. It would have defeated the purpose. At the time he came in, that match would have done nothing.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't have the fanfare. He didn't have the backing of the company 100% to pull off something like that.
No, because he lost to Triple H.
Yeah, I mean, like that was the last shot at WCW. By Triple H when that happened. But I would love that would have been a great match in their prime though.
No, I agree with you. It would have been an amazing match in their prime.
That would have been a great match.
Just the theatrics alone would have been amazing.
That was a headline type of match right there for WrestleMania.
That's the match you put up for the belt. That's the match where you
don't even need a belt with those two.
No, I think
that's a special attraction.
I think it's even more powerful because if you did it right and you gave Taker the belt, and then you have Sting come in to prove that he is the man to win the champ, because he never got to hold that belt.
Yeah, but I've always been of the opinion that the belt is used to elevate talent.
Okay.
And for them, they didn't need that
to
be relevant.
Okay.
So they could have, without even the belt being online, I felt like they could have headlined at WrestleMania.
All right.
Just off of that.
Before we move on real fast, I would once again like to thank the Lost Abbey for your Serpent Stout. If you haven't signed up for Devour and you're a beer fan, please do.
It's really the more even.
I bought 9 beers this month.
The thing, it's very convenient.
It's
they have a lot of unique beers that you may or may not be able to find locally. Special beers that are no longer in production.
Or beers you can't find locally.
Beers you can't find, hard to get, or they're too far away. They basically bring it to your front door. You pick out what you like and order, and they ship it, and it's great. And a lot of our stuff is coming from them these days.
It's going to be, yeah. Another a match that never happened at WrestleMania, happened elsewhere. This is one of those matches that happened at other pay-per-views.
Yeah.
But never happened on the main stage of WrestleMania. was The Rock versus Shawn Michaels at any stage.
They never fought.
No.
They never wrestled.
Yeah, it's sad.
And there was some politics involved with that, apparently. Shawn didn't want to work with him for whatever reason, according to The Rock. You know, obviously, there's two sides to every story. But I don't understand how that never took place. Arguably the two most popular superstars in the company during their height never fought. I mean, the guy literally fought Ken Shamrock at a pay-per-view before, and he never fought The Rock. Are you kidding me?
I heard. Okay, and again, this is what you hear online and stuff like that. It was more Shawn than The Rock.
Oh yeah, that's what I.
The Rock wanted it, but it was Shawn, and
they felt threatened by it.
The rumor it was insecurity.
Yeah, that he felt threatened by The Rock.
Totally insecurity.
And didn't want to give him the rub. And you know, if you believe the stories that come out about Michaels in the past, you know, he was very immature, whatnot, and very political, and played the game very well backstage. So, but that match, you want to talk about two talkers?
Oh yeah.
That they could have just gone back and forth against each other. And
look what he did with Cena when he came that once in a lifetime, and that was some of the greatest promos ever. And him versus Shawn, oh my God!
You can take Shawn, it's just HBK. You can take DX Shawn, however you wanted to do it. Like they would have run down each other in a way. Him and Brett, how their rants were personal. But him and Rock could have ran down each other on a level that we've never seen before.
Yeah, I agree with you.
In the wrestling wise, it wouldn't have been a 5-star classic per se, because their styles are very different.
Yeah, it would have been. And The Rock, I love The Rock, but yeah, when he got in there with somebody who was more of a high flyer position, he sometimes had issues.
It would have been a clunky style.
Shawn would have had to slow down for The Rock.
They could have pulled it off, but just from a build up standpoint and from a high profile standpoint, that's what makes this match one that I wish I would have gotten to see, because you know, for me, those were two of my favorites at that time during that era.
Oh yeah,
of all time. You know, take it a step further, but. I always wondered back then, why is Rock never fighting Michaels or vice versa? Their paths never crossed on screen. And I just thought that was odd.
And what's interesting is they had people in common, you know, like Stone Cold and there's people that wrestled that never wrestled each other. So it's interesting.
I couldn't figure it out growing up why they never fought.
And now we know it may have been, you know, that was all backstage stuff.
Yep.
Another match that may happen someday now, but never happened in their prime, was The Miz versus Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
I mean, and I hate to say, you know, the problem is I say that now. 2 years ago, I wouldn't have said this. But The Miz has gotten so good that now I'm thinking, wow, if him and Daniel had been able to go back and forth with each other in the ring, because their styles are very similar in a way. And they had matches. They have wrestled each other, but just not at WrestleMania.
Here, I've been saying this for a year. Miz deserves a main event push.
Oh yeah,
I would love to see next year Miz versus Daniel Bryan for the Universal title.
Oh my God, that would be good. Yeah,
that's you could run that Talking Smack live segment
over and over again,
and build that story up and make it very personal. And take the Miz, have him go to that place that we don't see often, where if you watch that interview, that came from a real place of frustration. That would be one of the most compelling storylines, because they're opposite in personality, but their paths have been very similar.
Yeah,
they both were underdogs. Miz came in; he was a tough enough talk show host.
He was a celebrity reality star.
He was basically a talk show host for the Tough Enough and the Diva Search.
Yep.
Nobody gave him a chance to make it.
Nope.
Nobody. We thought, why is he here? Blah blah blah. You know, he wasn't liked backstage.
Yeah.
Worked his ass off. He was passionate about it. He put the work in.
Yeah.
Now he's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Oh yeah.
Daniel Bryan, underdog story. Nobody gave him a chance. He was an afterthought when Nexus came around. He was just kind of thrown in.
Yep.
He kind of slowly had this groundswell of support. Took on that underdog role. People got behind him. Next thing we know, I've said it before, he's probably the most popular superstar that I can remember with the fans.
Up until he was cleared, he was the most popular person they had on the roster that wasn't actively in the ring.
But he's never not been over. You know what I mean? Since he found his niche, he's never not been over. Like some people, they have groundswells where they go up and down, up and down.
Ever since he lost to Sheamus in 18 seconds, that's when it started.
Yeah.
Since then, he has been the crowd's darling.
But he never even lost heat over that.
No, that's built him. Yeah. That's what made him.
Yeah, exactly.
Even he says that. That's what made him, because that's when the crowd got behind him. And what are you doing with this guy?
Yep.
But if you think about a few years ago, 4 years ago, when Daniel was at his height, The Miz and him going after it for the title, or if Chance go for the title, or the Intercontinental title, it would have been amazing.
But this is your opportunity to put the belt in play.
Yeah.
Because it elevates
both of them.
The Miz, it firmly, this is a legacy match for The Miz.
So do you have The Miz going as a champion then?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You got to have Daniel chasing as underdog.
Yeah.
It's always better when the face chases.
Who do you have win that match, though?
It would depend on Bryan's health.
Because the only reason I bring that up is because The Miz is going to, if that's the match, if The Miz goes in as champion.
It depends on Bryan's health.
Miz is going to go in trumpeting one fact and one fact only the entire time.
I beat John Cena.
I beat John Cena at WrestleMania as the champion. I went in as a champion. I walked out as a champion, and I beat John Cena. So if he wins that match, him being able to say, I beat Daniel Bryan and John Cena at WrestleMania and retained my belt is massive.
He's earned the right to win.
I agree with you.
But if you look at it, it would depend on Daniel's health. You don't want him to be a Brock Lesnar champion.
No, I want him every week.
So if he can't do that physically, it's a great story. With a great payoff with the match.
Yeah.
But The Miz, this firmly cements him as number one. He's paid his dues by far.
Mm-hmm.
He's carried the mid card of the company. For the last 10 years,
he's done something I didn't think was quite possible, and that hurt me all the time. Is he made the belt of my youth, which is the Intercontinental title, relevant? Yeah, because I've always said, someday I want to buy one of the replica, really nice $400 belts. Yeah, it's an extravagant thing, but someday. And my wife always asks me, which belt do you want? I mean, she always assumed I either want the big, the big world title match or the old. I'm like, no, I want the Intercontinental. Yeah, that's all I want. Yeah. And people look at me like, why? I'm like, because that was my belt. Because when we were growing up,
it's the best looking one. First of all,
it's the best looking. Number two, when we were growing up, it was always Hulk Hogan was the champion. It was the Intercontinental where you had Randy Savage, Mr. Perfect, Honky Tonk Man, Ultimate Warrior. Yep. That was the belt.
The list goes on and on.
The list goes on. That was the belt. Yeah. And it always hurt me when that belt was treated as a second class sort of throwaway. Yeah. And The Miz has turned it into something. I want to see those matches. Like, I admit, I'm excited about the WrestleMania match between The Miz, Balor, and Seth. Yeah. Because it's going to be huge. And honestly, I think The Miz is going to win because I think they're going to keep the belt on him. But it's going to be an amazing match.
Yeah, it's going to be good. But like I said, hopefully they get that set up for next year. I think if they're going to do it, you kind of keep them apart for the next, 6 to 8 months. Yeah. And, get them. I could see Daniel going back to Raw at some point.
No, actually, I could see, honestly, I think when we have the shakeup,
I don't think they'll switch Miz back.
I think they would.
Because he just got back to Raw.
I think they would because they're crazy. They don't know what they're doing. I could see them doing it.
Oh, he's probably about to leave anyway after WrestleMania, take some time off. But
I could see them moving back to SmackDown.
Yeah, but that match, if he's cleared, there's no other opponent.
No.
You got to have that.
All right, so a tag team match that never happened, and again, it was partly because they didn't get behind somebody. We never got Demolition versus LOD at WrestleMania.
No, we never did.
We never got what some people consider the copycat of the original, but then Demolition sort of surpassed LOD in a lot of ways. in WWE.
Within WWE, they did. I think globally, LOD, Road Warriors, Legion of Doom will always be the team, but Demolition was the gold standard for years in WWE. For them not to have a match like, and it's unfortunate that back then Vince was really not a fan of propping up WCW talent. Yeah. So they never really got the recognition, or they never really had. If you look at, you can go back to Lex Luger, you can go back to Arn and Tully, the Brain Busters, you can go back on and on and on. Barry Windham, people that came through that weren't quote unquote homegrown. They never got the push.
Flair's the only one that really
he did, but even his title reign was lackluster. He won. He won the Royal Rumble.
That was his moment.
That was his moment. But he never fought Hogan.
Yeah,
for the title. So like it was lackluster at best. But they for whatever reason they never wanted to prop him up and put the LOD on that big stage. They were kind of back and forth.
Yeah,
they were there for a minute, then they left, and then they came back towards the end.
Yeah,
and then Hawk passed away, and then Animal was doing. You
just wanted to see that match. Like that's that kind of match you just want to see,
because they were similar, but they were different.
Yeah.
And they both had a dominant style in the ring. It was like a smash mouth style of wrestling.
It wasn't been technical. You
wanted to see. Now this is Demolition without Crush. This is just Axe and Smash.
Axe and Smash.
You wanted to see, who was the stronger, most dominant team, and they just, for whatever reason, they didn't see money in that match. I thought it was a ton of potential.
Yeah. Those are matches I had, but I did want to do a couple like honorable mentions or matches I think could still happen, maybe. Especially after recent things and then the one I really want to talk about is Trish Stratus versus Alexa Bliss. She had a great run at the Women's Royal Rumble.
She did.
She looked really good. She actually looked. She didn't look like she had a ton of rust on her. She looked really good in the ring. And
she's a health nut. She takes care of herself anyway, so I'm sure she's active.
I think like right now that match is money.
It really would be,
because you could even play up the idea of Trish going, "Are you just stealing my gimmick?" Like totally, because Alexa does do kind of some of the things there.
Or you can play off of. She can make Alexa the female version of Randy Orton, like a legend killer type of character.
Oh my god, that'd be fun.
So like. When her angle with Mickie James runs out, you can have her, beat her and send her off or whatever when she's getting ready to leave, and you can kind of use that to springboard a new twist on her character.
Excuse me, Mr. Serpent.
Oh, fluffy there.
Serpent Stout. Hello.
But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different ways you could go with that, but I would love to see that.
Yeah.
That would give Alexa some credibility. Even more so, because even though she's the champion and she can talk, like just her stature, it limits her.
Yeah.
So like and that's what I told you. Like,
well, I think they moved Asuka for that reason. They were afraid of the Asuka.
But
versus
even
Alexa
more so
match.
now with Nia, it's like, oh my gosh, like there's so big of a difference.
Yeah.
And it's like, Mickey's gonna obviously have to be out there.
Oh yeah.
To kind of like level the playing field.
Oh, totally.
But yeah, Trish versus Alexa would have been great. Trish wasn't the greatest promo person.
No.
So Alexa, if they had interaction, Alexa would really run her down because she's really good at the.
Yeah, she would have to carry a lot.
She's good at the cocky cheerleader gimmick.
Oh yeah.
So she would run her down pretty good. But they would put in an amazing match. Yeah.
Do you have any okay? So looking at the main roster right now. Is there anybody on the roster you could think of that hasn't wrestled yet at WrestleMania that you want to see?
I'm sure there is.
I admit, the Usos versus New Day is one that I would have said if it hasn't happening this year. And it's going to be a three-way, which is going to suck. But New Day versus Usos by themselves,
they could tear the house down.
It's a generational match.
They've wasted it on filler pay-per-views as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
It could have been a WrestleMania match that it would have really delivered had been given the opportunity. Offhand, I can't really think of one. And I think that's more of a byproduct of my emotional state with WWE right now is I'm not the fanboy that I used to be as far as like Jericho. I was all about HBK, The Rock. You know what I mean? Like the performers are great. Don't get me wrong, but like their emotion. I don't know if I'm getting older. Or I look at the product differently now. I'm not emotionally attached to as many as I used to be.
Yeah, I agree with that. It becomes tougher in that thing, but
it's not. I mean, it's not a knock on the product, but I just don't have that. Oh man, I would love to see this. I just don't have that.
Well,
I
think
that guy or girl that I really.
I think part of that is, and I'm hoping to change this year. I think part of it is we've seen so many matches. They had so many pay-per-views running at one point that we saw these. I mean, you still want to see him on WrestleMania, but we've seen all these.
I mean, I'm a Bobby Roode fan. I hate where he's at now.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Adam Cole fan. I can't wait for him to come to the main roster. Hopefully this year.
Oh my God.
I just think he's 28. He's in his prime.
Yeah.
He's got HBK written all over him.
Adam Cole versus Shinsuke for the title.
He's got Jericho and HBK rolled into one.
Yeah. Do you imagine Shinsuke versus Adam Cole for the title?
Literally, Adam Cole.
That's just crazy.
Adam Cole versus anybody.
Yeah.
I think would be it because he's a talker. He can perform. It's going to be. The future's bright. They got a lot of talent, but right now, just off the top of my head, I can't really think of anybody.
All right. Well, I would like to thank our fine friends at Devour for sending me The Lost Abbey.
Yes.
With Serpent Stout.
And she's not gone.
She's not gone. We're
taking us slow with this one.
Oh, yeah, you have to. Oh, my God. If you chug this one, number one, it's a big bottle. And number two, like, this is the kind of bottle I would open up one night. And the first things out of my wife's mouth would be, "Are you going to drink that whole thing?"
Yeah, and
I'd be like, "Yes." And an hour later, I'd be like,
exactly.
Because I saved this one. It was good.
Yeah, it was good.
You can follow us on all the social media platforms. You can follow us on Facebook at Beers and Bodyslams Podcast. You can follow us on Twitter at Beers Bodyslams because Vince McMahon decided our Ann was not good enough for WrestleMania.
Follow us on the Untapped app. You can search for thousands of wonderful craft beers in your area. Rate them, try them all. I'm sure they're wonderful and delightful. You can follow me at GoodOLJB.
You can follow me at Mr. Fluffy. I will give you a tip for Untapped that I've used it a couple of times is when you're in a new city, go to selection and choose city and see where you are locally. It's a great way of finding local beers that are new to a city, or even if you're a city you've been in before and you want to see what's new. Mm-hmm. I use it all the time when I go to restaurants. I'll pull up all the local beers and start looking for those names. It's a great way of sort of prepping yourself.
Good idea. I never thought of that.
Yeah, I do it all the time. As I race towards 1,100.
Oh,
Jesus Christ.
I think I'm creeping up on 200 if I'm lucky.
Make sure you tune in on Thursday. We're going to cover all the news that is going on in WWE. Obviously, we'll talk about WrestleMania. We'll talk about Raw and SmackDown and the other news that breaks. And then tune in next Monday, a week from today. We're going to kind of have our fantasy WrestleMania. So we're going to pick matches sort of across generations, across time. That whole idea of you could have anybody wrestle anybody, fun-wise. Who would you have had?
Yeah.
Again, I'm
the possibilities are endless.
Shawn Michaels versus Surfer Sting.
Surfer Sting.
Do you know what I'm talking about, though? Like, not Dark Sting. Like, Sting when he was...
Blonde hair.
Woo! Blonde hair versus Shawn Michaels, but sexy boy Shawn Michaels.
The pretty boy with Sherry?
Yeah. You admit, that would have been a fun match.
Man, there's so many. So many.
We'll have some fun with that, though. We'll have some fun with that. So tune in for that. As always, make sure you... Hold on. I'm drunk now.
Hello, Abbey.
It's okay. Hello, Lost Abbey. Make sure your pint glass is full and your body slammed stiff.
You've been listening to the Beers and Body Slams podcast. Find us online at beersandbodyslams.com and on Facebook at facebook.com/Beers and Body Slams podcast. Until next time.
Have a nice day.